Hi, my name is Rieko Nishida from Osaka University. Today I'd like to talk about the influence of motivation and the possible self-zone proficiency in PLL for Japanese tertiary students. In 2020, with calls from the ministry, the English Education Reform Plan responding to rapid globalization has been implemented. According to this reformation plan, English proficiency should not only be cultivated as fundamental knowledge and skills, but learners also need to acquire the ability to reason, make decisions, and express themselves with problem-solving skills. In these circumstances, in order for the universities to achieve the establishment of a university networking system, 2008 saw the launch of the project called G30. In G30, Japanese students also have a chance to experience an international environment at home, which in turn may enhance student English proficiency. In this connection, CRIL and EMI have gained attention at university institutions. I did try to make a framework from Deshi-Ryan self-determination theory. Intrinsic motivation was conceptualized by three subscales, including intrinsic motivation, knowledge, accomplishment, and then stimulation by the language learning orientation scale. With the implementation CREO for university students in the Japanese context, showing increasing tendencies in a longitudinal manner, and stronger correlations are found between intrinsic motivation knowledge and English motivation, between accomplishment and English motivation, between stimulation and ideal L2 self. I did try to use another framework from L2 motivational self-system developed by Dornier. Two dimensions of L2 motivational systems were ideal L2 self, which refers to have the self-image of English using self the one would like to become, or L2 self refers to have self-obligation of English using self as the one has external forces from sources including parents, teachers, and society. Number of empirical studies has been carried out. The studies investigated the relationship between L2 self-system and the motivational intensity or intended learning effort. In 2009, Chize and Kolmus did a study for secondary and tertiary students in Hungary. The path was drawn from ideal L2 self to motivated learning behavior with a path coefficient of 0.49. In 2013, Taguchi, Magitte, and Papi did a study for tertiary students in Japan. The path was drawn from instrumentality prevention to O2L2 self with a path coefficient of 0.54. In 2017, Yashima, Nishida, and Mizumoto did a study for university students in Japan. The path was drawn from ideal L2 self to effort with a path coefficient of 0.55, and from effort to proficiency was 50.15. So now let me move on to CRIL in Japan and CRIL at Osaka University. As I said, 13 different universities are appointed for Global 30, and Osaka University was one of them. And there was, because of G30, we have developed the degree courses for undergraduate and graduate. So students are able to gain the degrees in English in the various fields. I did create a CRIL for undergraduate students, and this is particularly for School of Engineering and Engineering Science, Robot Technology, AI, because Professor Ishiguro is very, very famous for AI technology in Japan. So students from engineering or engineering science department, they are very much interested in AI. And this is another topic I provided for engineering students, AI and the military, because I really want my students to think about how we can control AI in an ethical manner in the society. So this is a syllabi for CLEO for engineering science students. And then the content was included such as like biological engineering, space engineering, and robot technology. And also 2 research projects were included, midterm career research project and the final career research project. And they had to do the presentation themselves. After 2020, I had to move on to online class because of COVID. And then I did use Zoom and the learning management system called Collaborative Learning Environment, CLE at Osaka University. I did try to make lots of PowerPoint materials, and also I made YouTube for their content learning. So the research question of this study is 1. How students' English motivation, positive selves, and then intrinsic motivation interrelate, and how would it influence on student proficiency after the implementation of CLEO? And 2. How do students experience CLEO in general? During the school year of 2018 to 2019, questionnaire was administered to students. And in addition to the questionnaire, the proficiency test called CASEC was carried out to measure student proficiency. In CASEC, 4 different sections were included with vocabulary, grammar, listening, and dictation. In the questionnaire, following items were included. In the end of the semester, students are also asked to fill out the open-ended questions in a qualitative manner. 249 students aged between 19 and 21 participated in the current study. So these are the Chromebox alpha for each items, and descriptive statistics for each item, and then CASEC. I did try to do the regression analysis for proficiency, and then proficiency, I did enter up dependent variables as proficiency, and then the strongest predictor variables was English motivation for proficiency. And then also I entered as English motivation as dependent variable, and then the strongest predictor variable was effort for English motivation. I did also try to do correlations, and then the strongest correlation was observed between effort and then English motivation, 0.75, and also between English motivation and intrinsic motivation, and also intrinsic motivation and effort. This is a hypothesized model to show intercorrelations between variables relating to proficiency. I did try to make a path drawn from intrinsic motivation to ideal self to effort, effort to English motivation to proficiency. And also the path was drawn from English motivation to O2L2 self, and from O2L2 self to effort. And then this is observable variables. I did try to use proficiency for section 1, 2, 3, 4 as observable variable, and then for CLEO intrinsic motivation with knowledge, accomplishment, and then stimulations. And then for the other observable variables, I did use items, each items. And then this is the result. From effort to English motivation, the strongest path was observed, and also strong path was observed from clear intrinsic motivation to ideal self, from ideal self to effort, and then from O2 self to effort too. And then from English motivation to proficiency, the path coefficient was 0.29. In order to support the quantitative data, students also had the opportunity to answer an open-ended question at the end of the semester. And then total of 182 students responded to the open-ended questions in Japanese, and 206 total descriptions in Japanese were obtained. In order to answer to the second research question, how do students experience career in general, grounded theory approach was used in order to better understand student responses. The responses was first transcribed into a spreadsheet, then open-coded and then clarified open-coded, then clarified into 9 different open coding, then categorized into 5 different categories. So this is open-coded by the grounded theory approach. 5 different categories: content, effort, relationship, autonomy, and enjoyment. Content included career research project, positive, content learning, learning from various resources, and it included nearly 64%. And effort included improvement of English, taking a proficiency test. Relationship including having a good relationship with others, having a good discussion with others, include 23%. And autonomy as autonomous participation, enjoyment as enjoyment of learning English. Discussion. To investigate the first research question, how student English motivation, possible selves, intrinsic motivation are intercorrelated, and how it would influence on student proficiency after the implementation of CREO. In the same, students who feel higher intrinsic motivation are likely to show higher ideal L2 self in CREO. Then, students who feel higher ideal L2 self may show higher effort in CREO, which in turn lead to English motivation in CREO. Students revealed stronger English motivation might show a stronger proficiency in CREO. In addition to this finding, students who show a stronger sense of O2L2 self may lead to stronger effort in CREO. In Yashima 2017, students who revealed a stronger sense of ideal L2 self showed a stronger sense of effort in comparing with O2L2 self. In CREO, both ideal L2 self and O2L2 self are likely to show a stronger sense of effort. The results were rather interesting, as in the EFL context, ideal L2 self might trigger a strong sense of effort in language learning. In CREO, both ideal L2 self and the O2L2 self might be equally important to trigger a sense of effort. Further investigation is needed to clarify this point, why O2L2 self is to trigger effort as equal as ideal L2 self in CREO. The strongest path was drawn from effort in CREO to English motivation in CREO, which in turn leads to students' proficiency. According to the multi-regression analysis, the strongest predictor variables for proficiency was English motivation in CREO. In Yashima 2017, the path was drawn from intelligent learning effort to proficiency. In their study, students who showed a stronger sense of intelligent learning effort tended to show a stronger proficiency in language learning. In CREO, the result, however, showed that students who showed a stronger sense of effort in CREO might show stronger English motivation, which in turn influence on proficiency. This means that students who are making language learning effort are likely to be motivated in English learning in CREO. To investigate the second research question to understand student experience CREO in general, students are asked to fill out open-ended questions in the end of the semester. The findings indicated that there are 5 different categories, including content, effort, relationship, autonomy, and enjoyment. Of these, 9 different open coding as a subcategory were identified. For content, career research project positive, content learning, learning from various resources were identified. Results indicate that 64% students indicated their comments including content matter, such as it was fun to prepare for the project, or such as like content was interesting as it was close to my expertise, and such as like it was fun to learn from various resources. In CREO, particularly content-related topics were provided to students, and these topics are closer to students' subjective knowledge. In addition to content-related topics, authentic materials were chosen from textbooks and also linked to various resources, including internet resources. choosing the content materials from students' subjective knowledge and also teaching materials from authentic materials might have a positive impact on students in Korea. Before concluding the present research, limitations and also future possible research will be noted. Although the results were fruitful in the present research, further studies the control group is needed. In such as in using the multiple group structural equation modeling, for example, Chris versus non-Creo can be compared. Conclusion. Because of rapid globalization, English proficiency should not only be cultivated as a fundamental knowledge and skills, but learners also need to acquire the ability to reason, make decisions, and express themselves. And for Japanese university students, particularly, they need to cultivate their English proficiency. In this connection, I hope Korea can become one of possible ways to motivate learners and empower them to open up their minds for a more globalized future and for their future careers. Thank you very much. And these are the references.